In conversation with Sam the World. Sam the World is passionate about writing, not caring really who likes it or doesn't. He writes for himself and to get a political or religious point or opinion across at other times he writes to amuse himself and if you are entertained or educated, it's a profound and happily shared expression. Sam the Word is an author who writes poetry, rap, short story, script, and he has many merit and awards from the Koestler Organization, Apple and Snakes, the Jam Organization, and other too numerous to mention. He has also performed and collaborated with other writers for Kestrel's Organisation project for theatre such as the Royal Court Theatre in London and also co-starred in a small film such as The 360 Man and collaborated and acted on a separate production, The Royal Court for the stage performance Blood and Water, in which he co-wrote. He recently collaborated also a chapter for Golden Child Promotions and the book 14,000 on the topic of righteousness. He's presently working on his life story from childhood to foster care in an alien all-white environment. His fixed fight from 5 years old in the street of Linchester for fun and a couple of years later against racism to his conversion to Islam at the tender age of 9 years old to street battles and being a fugitive in Pakistan and Afghanistan, where he found himself in armed skirmishes with Northern Alliance militia, to begin in argument with militants for refusing to accept a handbook that legitimized terror attacks on the innocent civilians, to his incarceration in Pakistan and Waziristan, the tribal belt between two countries, later his arrest in Nigeria for an investigation in the Britain and extradition to England before being freed for time served. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to have on the show today, Sam the World. How are you doing, Sam?
Fine, fine. Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's my
I'm there.
absolutely. It's my pleasure to have you on the show today. And I love the description of your bio.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yes,
a full-on description. A lot has happened, so you've got a lot to choose from to pick my
yeah,
brain about.
absolutely. Yeah, so Sam, you have an upcoming book in the name of Caught Your Word, Your Mind. And I'd love to ask you, how does this book come about? What inspired the making of Caught Your Word, My Mind?
I could say I was writing from some years back.
Yeah.
I started taking it very serious, maybe 2003 while incarcerated. And I gathered a lot of different material and worked with a few different organizations that you mentioned and so on.
Mm.
Put on a few events for different for different organizations like Chicken Shed and different organizations came in. Koestler Awards I got merits for and commendations and Gems Organization and different things like that. So more people got to basically hear me recite and appreciate the work, and they kept pushing me. I've got to do a book. Everyone's saying I've got to do a book. They're still saying I've got to do my life story, which I'm working on. And a friend of mine that also has a book with Golden Child, she kind of pushed me forward to go, to meet Adrian and to, give him some material. And then we decided, he liked the material, and we decided to put a collection of poems together.
Yeah.
So this is a collection of poems, and it's the first scroll, the first book. There's another one that's coming out shortly as well, the second scroll, same title. And in the future, obviously, there'll be much more books, including the life stories as well. As quick as he can turn them out, like giving him the material, it's as quick as the publisher can turn them out.
Yeah.
Then
Wow.
we'll have them. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing to me, really. I love the start to the making of it, and I hope the publication goes on smoothly. And now I'd love to ask you too, in case of readers who haven't read the book yet, without giving much information away, could we have a sneak in terms of themes of what we'd expect picking up Call Your Word My Mind? And again, is it in the genre of poetry?
Um, it's more to do with because it's so much diverse, different types of genres within there. It's not like approach a book of love or um, on its own. It's love, social politics, war, um,
Wow.
social matters, political matters, some humor, and it goes on like that according to what comes into my spirit, what I'm feeling at the
Mm,
time,
yeah.
what inspires me to write at the time. Some of it's about my grandmother, my grandfather, that had, they played a very big role in my life growing up. And, there's something in there, I think, for everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. There's something in there, I think, for everybody. So that's quite amazing to me, really. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. And you're also a spoken word artist, and that's quite amazing, really, because I'm a huge fan when it comes to spoken word poet. Yeah, now can you tell us how you came about being a spoken word
Well,
artist?
um, I grew up listening to hip hop as a kid. I was one of the best dancers in the Midlands, break
Mm,
dancing, and whatever. And what goes with that? But rap. I come from a Jamaican background, so you're going to get
mm,
MC, you're going to get bubbling, you're going to get dancehall, chanting and so on. So I always had lyrics in the mind, and so I, I suppose I put down the form of rhythmic rhyme,
mm,
as well as having the genre of prose and sonnets and haikus and all the rest of it that goes
yeah.
into. I also had that raw street element. So I used to see things like what goes on the street, and that would obviously go down in its material form rhythmically. And I know people call it spoken word. We just call it expressing ourselves. Some people call it rap. Some
Mm,
people call it MCing or bubbling or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think it's something that black people, even when I was in Nigeria,
yeah.
I noticed that they're very lyrical with proverbs and different things like this,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Especially rap. So if you go to the West Indies now, Jamaica and Antigua, you find when people speak, it's very colorful. They'll say
Mm,
something that's got a broader and a heavier meaning,
mm,
right? So it was more or less second nature. It's all it is. The mind put it down on paper,
yeah.
or or in recording form. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somewhat, right? So, like for instance, I come out with a thing like, "Do you know what it's like to be a nigger at night and can't walk this damn streets at night? Unless you hear those sirens, see the blue lights, you're getting stopped, searched, cuffed real tight. Go there's kicking out a witness in sight. Brought before the judge, all the faces are white. Excuse me, Your Honor, if I seem uptight, so I'll spit and cursing like a door on the mic. I'm just a little pissed off, right? So look in the jury, what have you got? 6 undercover racists and half a dozen cops. Because your defense don't look too hot. You realize too late that you're part of the plot. Now you feel like you just get shot. So I seen that on the street daily. So that'll come out like that.
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah.
That's the only way I can give it to you in a visualized vocal manner.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
amazing, really. That's really amazing. And I love your short performance. It's quite lovely, really, to know your background into the making of you being a spoken word artist. That's quite lovely to know. And now, please, let's talk about challenges. I don't know, but I don't know if you experienced any sort of challenges in the process of writing your upcoming book. If there is any, could you share with us what challenge it is and how you ultimately
What
overcame it?
a lot of the material I had, a lot of the material I had in bits of paper, scraps of paper, folders on my phone in the notes. So I just had to pick out what it is that I thought I could slightly edit or was ready to go. So
Mm,
basically, that's where we were. We just compiled things, and whatever the publisher said they liked, I would then scrutinize it,
mm.
then give it back to them. And sometimes I really annoyed them. I'm an annoying guy, and I'm a very annoying guy. So they would say, "Yeah, that's perfect," and then I'll say, "However, I think I need to do this, that, and the other." Because for some reason, as I know it's getting published, my eyes started opening. I started being more aware of the content
Mm.
and how it was structured. And I'm not a person that really deals with too much structure, but I felt if it's going to be put into a literature form, it's got
Yeah.
to be more perfect for
Mm.
the public. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of problems really came from me toing and froing back and forth, and then people couldn't remember which copy they had or which they were working, and so on and so on. And
Mm.
sometimes I write a poem, I can write 10 versions
Wow.
because yeah, I do that. Sometimes I might send you a poem, send somebody a poem, and then next to they look, it's been deleted, and another one's in its place. That could happen
Oh.
5, 6 times in a day, and then you know, and then they say,
Wow.
listen, stop the production, just it's perfect as it is, leave it.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. I was like that
Wow.
painting. They told me the same thing when I'm painting. You have to know when to stop.
Wow.
You know what I
Wow.
mean? But it comes like
Yeah.
a river. Yeah. As soon as I get
Interesting.
almost possessed with the art of it, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I can write 3 poems while I'm sleeping, or half sleep, and have 3 different titles by the time I wake up. That can happen.
Wow.
But I have to slow myself right down and not get too manic. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Yeah.
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 Wow, this is so amazing, really. I love your take on this, and it's so amazing to know the stats with this, the challenges encountered alongside, and the eventual
Yeah.
publication of the upcoming book. That's great. And now, Sam, I'd love to ask you, I need your divination, in your own terms, in your own words and language. How can you define poetry? What does poetry means to you?
It's for me. It's the heart, the passion.
The heart.
Yeah, the heart passion. For instance, I've lost a few poems along the way from moving around different cultivated institutions, you could say. And it burnt me for months. It still burns me. If I lose one poem, it burns me. Or if, uh, you know, Google or whoever decides that I haven't paid up my thing this month, or I've overlooked it, and they won't release my thing, my own work to go onto another media platform.
Yeah.
It's like crazy, right?
Yeah.
And some of my best work I've lost. A script I wrote, like from people on a train, having interaction with different passengers. I lost that. I lost something
Wow.
called Dear John Letter about somebody in prison. Some of the best work, and it haunts me. And I'm just waiting for the spirit to hit me to redo it
Wow.
in a
Wow.
different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But poetry for me is I'm not really, I wouldn't say discipline academic type person.
Mm.
So I never really wanted to get onto this fuddy duddy kind of way of writing because I thought that it was, even when I was getting taught at one time,
Mm.
I felt like it was constraining me. Things were going to become rigid because I had to follow, you know, kind of a certain structure. I had to follow, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
syllables, for instance, or
Yeah.
I had to do you know what I mean? I
I
had to put
understand.
I like to write with as if I'm not writing. It comes in the mind first, the
Yeah.
tension, the contrast, the picture, the story, the theme. I want to put it down like that.
Yeah.
Keep it as raw as possible.
Wow.
So
That's love.
that for me is poetry for me. I mean, Shakespeare. I love
Yeah.
Shakespeare. I love Shire,
Oh.
Smiley Lady. Brilliant, fantastic. Shire, that's never met me, probably never will. Um, she inspired me, maybe like Benjamin Zephaniah, who I saw live when I was a little young. More than anything, she helped me to become a better writer, and that in my
Wow.
own bias, in my own opinion,
Int-
because I liked her work so much. I felt
Oh.
so real and so honest and so organic.
Hmm.
For some reason, it it helped me to understand that's what it should be and that's how it can be. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And
Yeah.
something something triggered in me,
Wow.
and you know, and then I remember I was in a place called Dovegate many years ago, and my arts teacher didn't turn up, He stole one of my paintings. He said it was like a Monet, so I painted a little bit as well. He ran off with
Wow.
the painting. Yeah, he ran off with the painting. I hope you know, Mike, that you can sue me. You ran off with the painting.
Oh, wow.
And so he was replaced by someone that was actually, I think he was actually an English teacher. I
Mm,
think he was working in there because something more to do because he retired. You know, there's a lot of these guys, they retired, just want something to do. And he said to me, because he knew I wrote, he said, I bet you couldn't write something. I think it was by somebody called Benjamin Folk, something Luton Town or something like that it was called.
mm.
Rain, Rain and Luton Town, something like that. And I looked at it and I said, I could write that before the lesson finishes. So I did one called Arab Spring
Oh, wow.
in the same kind of style, but about what goes on there.
Yeah.
And he was amazed. He said, "How did you do that? How could you do that with all that content?" Because I like to write. When anyone that gets the book or finds some of the pages on, when I get it up on different media,
Mm.
they'll know that I'm a descriptive writer. I live in
Wow.
my head. I live in my head, and that's
Wow.
another reason why I have to write because I can't keep it all in my head. So,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I've
not.
always lived. I've lived like my head's like a cartoon. If you open my head, you'll be exhausted.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny to say, really. And I love your take on what you consider poetry as. And to me, it has always been the language of the soul, the language of the soul of the poet, the
Yeah.
language of the soul of the writer. Because I think that, poetry is something that comes, like you mentioned, from the
Yeah.
writer's heart, from the writer's mind. And it can come in different themes, especially falling on from what it's going on currently in the
Yeah.
writer's art. It could be in terms of grief, it could be in terms of love, it could be in terms of cry, tears, pain, etc. Depending on the situation of the soul, the situation of
That's
the
right.
art of the writer at that particular time. So that has been
Honestly,
my definition of poetry for quite a while now. And when people ask me, Peter, what's poetry to you? I just said, yeah, it's a language of the soul
yeah.
of the writer,
Yes.
and it can come in different themes. So I love your definition too. That was quite fun to know.
Because I think you have to be able to communicate to yourself first.
Yeah,
You have to have that integrity to be honest to yourself and be able to then find a way of delivering that and sharing that. You know what I
absolutely.
mean? But I don't like, there's a lot of poetry I won't read. Even, you know, people come to me in prison and with their poetry, and quite frankly, I don't read a lot of it because some people are too smart for their own good. And they would
Mm,
use a word that long to express something that short,
mm,
right? Because they want to see it, what did they say? It's kind of obnoxious to me and pretentious. Do you understand?
mm. Yeah.
He said easily, you're going to now make it into, you have to have a professor to be able to, a PhD to be able to understand the terminology. You know what I
Mm,
mean? That's all very well when you're writing hypotheses and you're doing certain things and certain science and so on. But
yeah.
for me, I like to keep it as raw as it comes. If you're naturally like that, and that's the only words you have, which are high
Mm,
sophisticated Websterian dictorial language,
yeah.
that will come over as honest. But too many people come over and try to be, and when they try to be, they lose the me. Do you understand?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I love your take on this, really, Sam. Thank you so much for sharing. And now I'd love to ask you, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book like yours? And also, would you like to perform one or two of your poems? It could be your favorite ones, whichever
Yeah.
one you would love to.
Mm. I'll read. I'll read two. I'm not going to do the spoken word and just do it off my head. I'll read two. Um, I'll read Once You Had Me and I think Africa's Holocaust. And if we have time and you have room, then maybe Do You Love Me? I'll do that as well. But
Mm,
they're in the book, and Once You Had Me is one of my favorites, and that's one of a lot of ladies' favorites. Africa's
yeah.
Holocaust. the Jews have the Holocaust, and I would like to let people know that we had a Holocaust that deserves the attention of not being forgotten.
Wow.
Yes. And since so many European countries were part of this industry, and so even some of the people that say that they've been hard done by the most in the world were part of the same industry to a very high level, I would like it to be shared.
Wow.
Yeah. So you you were
Yeah.
saying the advice to anyone coming up would be, for me, be honest and be happy. Whether you get published or not, be happy with your collection of work.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Read it back to yourself and be happy with it. Right? And then when you're happy with it, other people will be happy with it.
Yeah.
You're always
Because
going to find people that love it and find people that don't love it, and don't be disheartened by people that don't love it, because it
yeah.
just means that you have got a certain fan club, fan base already set up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
That's
Potentially.
fun.
And also, you will come into pitfalls if you can do it yourself. I like to use Golden Child because they understand me, and I'm a person, like I said, I tried the Canva thing, and I was just messing up the whole thing, and I didn't want to pay to get it done either.
Well,
I didn't want to pay. The Canva seemed like they wasn't letting me get my work out and be able to work on it more, or whatever. I just shut that down and said, okay.
Well.
And then when the opportunity came in a row for me to go to, get in touch with Golden Child, I said, okay, this is my way forward.
Yeah.
They give opportunities to go to look at contracts and look at different, agree on different terms that suited both sides.
Yeah.
And I think they're efficient. We've had a few little teething problems here and there, which I think was better for us because it made me scrutinize my work and have a longer, a broader window to scrutinize myself on the work.
Absolutely.
And then more satisfied and not give out something I think is second rate or just something personalized to myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, So I think anyone that's going, and I would like to say to them, if they do have, serious problems and they're really ready for publication, can go to Golden Child Promotions, Golden Child Promotions Publishing .gold, right?
Yeah.
If they go to that, they will be in good hands.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for mentioning this. That's quite lovely to know. And now I know that your book is forthcoming, but whenever it comes up, on what platform can interested viewers can they get a copy of it?
You can go on the same website, Sam the Word, and go on the website with GCPP, and it will come up and lead them to different media platforms that they go to.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, we'll send that to you as well, so you've got it linked into your channel, so people can always refer back to it, and then they can navigate their way through.
Absolutely. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Sam the Word's books directly on Amazon and also on other platforms. So thank you so much, Sam, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well.